it kind of backfires on the captain, saying that they might want to sabotage what the captain wants to have done.
The captain should be limited, and so they can keep having successful voyage. They should congratulate the sailors when they do something good, so they can be encouraged to do better the next time.
All right, 1 minute warning.
Well, we believe that the captain should have limits on their power and should still be able to punish while still being fair to the sailors.
And we're saying the captain should have limited power, but the sailors should have limited power too, but we're still on our friend's side. We're not trying to be on the captain's side, but the sailors should have limited power too.
So basically, in conclusion, by limiting not only the powers of the captain, but then the sailors, because we don't want the sailors to abuse their freedom, we think that if we limit the powers of both, it will equal out and give you like peace on the boat.
It'll be a fun boat, like the unicorn one.
So, to conclude here, what we need to do is we need to listen in on the Naval Review Board's discussion as they decide, Griffin, your warning, as they decide the case here. They're going to try to decide, should there be limits, should there not be limits, is there some sort of middle ground? They get to decide what to do, but they have to talk loudly enough so that we all listen in on their conversation. So everybody listen to the Naval Review Board as they discuss their thoughts.
Okay, so we'll start with the captain. The
captain had some very good statements of why they should, because they had their rights that they need to keep everybody in line. But then there's the fact that people are getting injured for what they're doing, and we all know that's not fair. So
You're fine.
And overall, it just sort of evens out. So we gave them a total score of 0.
They had some. So as we wrote it down, they had 5 really good points, but they also had 5 kind of weaker points. So we'll stay on the captain's side and go to the owners of the ship.
Well, the owners had, we thought, 8 good points of it, because their ship could go out of voyage, and if something bad happened to them, and we thought that their money down the drain would be bad. But they had some bad points, so we put 7 bad points, because some of them were weaker than others, and we didn't think that they did all that great with some of them.
especially with the whipping, as we keep saying, because whipping overall is just a bad thing to do. It's very unsophisticated.
Okay. Here, you can do
So you guys, you're not just presenting, you're actually talking too. Talk to each other, decide what you think. You've made no decision that you've talked about yet, so talk about it. But make sure you're loud enough so we want to hear your discussion.
Well, we'll just go and say our total points, but we still have to decide. So
it was 3. We have to decide who's better of the 2 ones.
The captains,
which one was?
They had a bad, they had a hard time trying to defend themselves. They actually did better. They did really good. What are you saying? The captains and the
But obviously, they in total points that automatically
shows that we were too hard on the
Yeah, it was our first one. We have to also take that into consideration. And we had way too bad points. Yeah, we had high expectation for what they were going to say.
I think that if we're trying to
see if owners of ship or authors and friends, which one's better?
Yeah, because they both have ones, and if
I think
obviously
that,
if
well,
you can't
the author
then
and
maybe
friends had a really good start.
Yeah, and
But they kind of went down a little bit. They went down.
they named some
came-
bad things about what they're going to do.
As
and
they
stuff.
went out their themselves, like they started kind of by themselves, so they were really strong. But I think we kind of not exactly discouraged them, but made it a little harder on them
With our questions.
with our questions.
Because they had it all planned out.
The way they wanted it to be done, and they were not prepared for our questions because our questions were not the obvious answered ones. So, for the owners of ships and the authors, which do you think was better
I
overall?
think authors and friends.
I think owners.
They were both really good.
I think I would go.
I would go.
better points.
Owners.
I would actually go with the owners and the owners of the ship because they had really strong arguments of what they wanted. And they had a few bad ones, but we marked them down because they were bad. They had some really, really strong arguments on why the power should be halved there. The authors and friends, I would say, is not as great as the owners of the ship, is because they had good arguments. They had some really, really bad arguments, talking literally against what they believe. But some of their goods was really good, and then they started falling and falling and falling, and eventually they got into naming what the other team
As they
wanted.
fell, though, they were still trying. They were still good points, but they were just a little weaker than as I started. And then they were at the bottom, they were just kind of done, I think.
But who held their ground the best of their idea,
Owners.
without having our idea completely make them change their mind out of our saying?
They actually, owners of
Okay,
ships.
so if we're
what
debating,
they wanted to
I
say.
think now we're debating between the crew and ships.
Yeah.
Yes.
The crew. So
No captains.
no, captains is I think done. 'Cause
Yeah, because we obviously we were really harsh on them, but true to that, we were hard on everybody. So
But I don't think that captains didn't have that great of arguments. They said we should have the right of whipping them because of this, and then they said that 5 times. And they didn't have
they
any.
just
they
kinda
kept
said the
stated the
same-
same arguments.
they-
They didn't
yes.
have multiple arguments that were worthy of getting a point. That's why they got a total of 0. So who was better, the owners of ships or the crew? The crew had some very good examples, like
they were all.
I
And
didn't
they
like
were
how
all.
they said the killing.
we marked them down, I think twice out of their 5 markdowns for saying that they were getting killed.
Because then the captain would be put out of place if they were actually
Yeah.
getting killed. Because they would know someone is dead.
Unless they just threw them overboard, which is the obvious answer. But then obviously head count. You're missing somebody. Nobody's there. So
That's what I didn't like about it.
yeah, they said a lot about the killing and the whipping was too intense. At certain points, whipping would be necessary, as if they were trying to overthrow
Here's
the captain. Like, I'll try and beat you to it and stuff like that. But talking back to somebody is not worthy of a whipping.
Well, look.
And we
they had the same amount of positive points, but then the crew came out with 5 negative, and owners had 7.
so it overall
It's pretty much compared to negative.
it's yeah.
So,
So it sounds like you guys are close. What do you lean on?
I
So
think
they had good
So we know that the authors and friends are
out.
3rd, and we know the captains is
since their
4th.
arguments where the people could overthrow, we could still take away some of the captain's power and take away some of the crew's power because they don't want you to overthrow the captain when he's.
But that's what the authors and friends said. I
Was
think.
it the crew or
So-
the authors and friends who said that they were
The authors and friends said the spine damage and stuff like that.
No, that was the
that was us anywhere.
that was the owners of the ships. That was Ryan Redding.
That was not stated anywhere.
That was a false information and false reckoning.
So it sounds like your first and second teams are very close, but you need to come up with an actual decision on what the limits to the powers of a captain are. So it doesn't really matter which team won. It matters more what your ruling is going to be for a captain. So tell us that, please.
We should probably take the
So there is going to be limits we decided that
So what
who's
should
going
the
to win.
first
So that
one
means
be? What should the first
the limits should be obviously as
running of a ship
the
you could do.
yeah.
They can't decide what course.
So if
The
we're
ship
just
will
if
take
we're going out right now and saying
assign-
that there should be limits, I think we're choosing the crew.
So yes, the crew has
I don't know
won.
about settled.
So they
I
get
think
first place. Yeah, good
Yeah.
job, crew, and good job, owners.
Yes!
Good job, others and friends, and good job, captains. They all did very well.
Yes, everybody.
And
Good
so,
job.
Good
and
job,
so you've decided that
everybody.
there should be limits. You might spend some time working on what those limits would be, right, guys? We probably don't have to do that now, but you've decided that some limits need to be set. All right, so we're going to stop it there.